I'd like to call to order the Milan Area School Board of Education regular meeting for Wednesday, April 24th, 2024. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you to everyone attending this evening and those who will be watching the recording. Just a couple of housekeeping items. All board members are present except for Ms. Heike. She is excused. And in her absence, Ms. Murray will be serving as secretary. And then I believe student member Farrow will also be absent. First up in the order of business is communications and community engagement. Time for public comment. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public meeting. There are 2 times for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. When addressing the board, you will be asked to state your name. The board determines the amount of time granted to individuals or groups to speak. Each person shall be allowed to speak for up to 3 minutes. Board members may question speakers but are not obligated to answer questions or make statements or commitments in response to issues raised by the public. In general, such items will be referred to the superintendent for advisement, investigation, study, and/or recommendation, or designated as future agenda items for board consideration. Are there any students who'd like to address the board? Are there any public members who'd like to address the board? Just push the green button, Mr. Elder, please.
George Elder. Recently it's been brought to my attention that there are some people on this school board that want to utilize my children in order to shut me up. It's funny what we are about, diversity and inclusion, but when a parent has a different ways of thinking than the members on this board, it's a whole different story. I want to make it clear from this point forward, anything that happens to my children during school activities, or being excluded from anything school related will be considered retaliation. Now I know my children are not perfect, by all means, but they have the right to an education and not to be retaliated against. Just like every other student, no matter the ethnic background, religion, gender, or political views. It is crazy that I have to stand up here and talk about this in front of a bunch of adults that are in charge of making decisions on the safety and well-being of our children. You all have the last word, but I do get 3 minutes every school board meeting to talk with exhibits and logs and situations that my children have been put in because of me speaking up or disagreeing with our board. It needs to stop. I have a constitutional to run for whatever political office I want. Trust me, I have the scars and the credentials to show what I helped do for the Constitution. If you simply don't like me, don't have to vote for me. Again, I'm done with the insults and attacks on my children. I now have safeguards in place in order to ensure my children will be treated fairly. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Elder. Are there others? All right, next up in routine matters for approval, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of April 10th, 2024.
Motion by Pryor. Support by Gutierrez.
So moved and supported to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of April 10th, 2024. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, it's been moved and supported to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of April 10th, 2024. Ms. Murray.
Rosenleacher,
Yes.
Sislo,
Yes.
Farrell,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Heike absent, Murray, yes, Pryor.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 6-0.
All right, next up, I need a motion to approve the 2024-2025 Schools of Choice Resolution as provided in Attachment A.
Motion by Rosenleacher.
Support by Pharaoh.
So moved and supported to approve the 2024-2025 School of Choice Resolution as provided in Attachment A. Mr. Gearbaugh.
This is just an annual resolution that you have to pass under the state of Michigan laws to allow us to participate in schools of choice. We have for years participated in both Section 105, which is students from within our county, and Section 105C, which is students in any contiguous county of the School Aid Act. So this is a resolution that you have to enact. We will be accepting students from kindergarten through 12th grade, and we are an unlimited district. We do have the right and implement that right 100% of the time. If any student applies for schools of choice and has been suspended or expelled in the previous 2 years, we have the right and implement that right to not accept them. And I can answer any questions you might have.
Any questions or concerns? All right, it's been moved and supported to approve the 2024-2025 School of Choice Resolution as provided in Attachment A. Ms. Murray.
Sislo,
Yes.
Pharaoh,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Murray, yes. Pryor,
Yes.
Rosenleecher.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, next up on the agenda, I need a motion to approve the 2024-2025 budget and truth and taxation hearing announcement as provided in Attachment B.
Moved by Pharaoh.
Support by Pryor.
I got moved by Farrow and supported by Pryor to approve the 2024-2025 budget and truth and taxation hearing announcement as provided in Attachment B. This is the annual meeting that we have. It'll be Wednesday or no, June 5th. Is that I believe that's June 5th, 2024 at 6:45 in this room. Anything further, Mr. Gearbaugh?
Just quickly, this announcement is required by law. It will be run in the Monroe Evening News as required. And the meeting is already in your meeting lineup on the website.
Any questions or concerns? All right, it's been moved and supported to approve the 2024-2025 budget and truth and taxation hearing announcement as provided in Attachment B. Ms. Murray.
Pharaoh,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Murray, yes. Pryor,
Yes.
Rosenleecher,
Yes.
Sislo.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, now onto the area of the strategic plan. In the area of personnel and leadership, we have a teacher appointment. I need a motion to approve Anthony Denardis as a Milan Middle School teacher consultant effective immediately.
Motion by Rosenleecher. Support by Gutierrez.
It's been moved and supported to approve Anthony Denardis as a Milan Middle School teacher consultant effective immediately. Mr. Gearbaugh.
Yes, this position is filling a vacancy that was caused by a mid-year resignation. I know that you have had the ability to look at his resume. He comes to us with quite a bit of experience in a district in a county close to us. References were good, and we are excited to bring him on board and continue to support our special needs students at the middle school.
And he was brought in on the contract at the appropriate salary.
Yes, yep, the job was posted in all of our normal places. His salary was set according to the master agreement.
Any questions or concerns? All right, it's been moved and supported to approve Anthony Denardis as a Milan Middle School teacher consultant effective immediately. Ms. Murray.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Murray, yes. Pryor,
Yes.
Rosenleecher,
Yes.
Sislo.
Yes.
Pharaoh,
Yes.
motion carries 6-0.
All right, next up in the strategic area of finance and operations, we have some approvals to consider in regards to some safety enhancements for the the school district buildings. So I need a motion to approve the purchase and installation of door lock hardware upgrades for an amount not to exceed $43,653 with Tanner Supply Company as detailed in Attachment C.
Moved by Pharaoh.
Support by Gutierrez.
It's been moved and supported to approve the purchase and installation of door lock hardware upgrades for an amount not to exceed $43,653 with Tanner Supply Company as detailed in attachment C. Mr. Gearbaugh.
Thank you. First, both of the purchases we are recommending tonight came out of the state-funded safety audit that we had of all of our buildings. The first one is the door locks. And just to explain a little bit of what we're doing so everybody understands, our current door locks to our classrooms were code when they were installed, but at 3 of the 4 buildings, they require a key from inside the classroom or outside the classroom to lock them. So a teacher can't safely lock the door in an emergency situation unless they find their key and go over and lock the door with the key. The 4th building, some of the rooms actually you have to go outside the room and lock it with a key and then go back into the room and close it. There's no way to lock the door from the inside of the classroom. Both of those situations cause a potential danger to our staff to be able to lock those doors. The other thing is a lot of the doors lock with a deadbolt. So when you do turn the key, it locks with a deadbolt. By code, you have to be able to get out of the room from the inside without a key. So when you turn the handle, it undoes the deadbolt. So it becomes very easy for a teacher not to know if the door is locked or not, because if they lock it and then somebody goes out, it's unlocked. So we're doing 2 things. One, this bid will put basically what I call thumb screws, but it will just put a lever on the inside of the door that allows anyone to lock that door. And it also will have an indicator that says whether the door is locked or unlocked. So that way the teachers don't have to remember, well, if it's vertical, it's locked. If it's horizontal, it's not locked. They would be able to look at it and see it's locked. This is something that I've been working on for a while. I had our normal company come out and walk all the buildings and actually take some of the hardware out to see what it would take to do it. They gave me a price, and that price was above the bid spec for the state of Michigan. So I had to go back to the drawing board and put out an RFP and accept bids. We had 5 companies come to the mandatory pre-bid meeting. 3 of those companies ended up putting in bids. I think 2 of the other companies were just a little bit smaller, and I kind of saw the level over, because this is going to take drilling a new hole in every door. So it's not a small job, but it's a lot cheaper. If we had replaced, and you can see the prices on the second page, it ranges from $115 a door to $171 a door. If we had just replaced all of the hardware on the door, the whole locking mechanism, those are close to $1,000 each. So this is the right way to do it, and it's going to get us where we want to be, but it's going to be a little bit labor intensive because they are going to have to pull the current hardware out, drill a new hole, put the hardware back in, and then the lock, that new thumb screw lock will be added on the inside. I will say I'm pleased that our normal lock vendor ended up being the lowest bidder. So this is the company that works on our hardware all the time. They're comfortable with our systems. They repair our systems when they break. They're giving us a good warranty on this equipment, and so I'm excited to do this. I also want to note, I know there's a lot of questions about should we be putting the boot system locks on the doors and those types of things. I can tell you our security consultant and a lot of security consultants don't necessarily recommend those type of locking mechanisms. And let me explain a little bit of the reason why. One, they could allow a bad actor to lock themselves in a room, and it would be difficult for us to get into that room. 2, with our younger students or maybe special needs students or a student with a behavior issue, they could lock themselves in a room, and it gets somewhat difficult to get into that room without the appropriate tool to do that. I can also tell you, and I've spent a lot of time talking to our security consultant, the real difference comes in the door being locked, not necessarily being incredibly locked, I guess is the way I'll just put it. In other words, when you watch the videos from school shootings or school incidents, usually the bad actor will just walk down the hallway checking the door handle. And if it's locked, they move on. And I hate to put it this way, but the honest thing is, when there is a mass school shooting, the goal of the shooter is truly to kill as many people as they can in as short amount of time as possible. I know that's really gruesome, and I don't like to say that, but that's just the reality. And so they're not going to take the time to break down a door if it's locked. So locked is secure. Yes, you could put a boot on it. If we continue to get safety money in the future, that might be something we look at. But again, our security consultants have said there are other things that are more important for your district to provide safety than that. But I know there's a lot of questions out there and you see a lot of advertisements for them. And so I just want to clearly explain why this is what we're doing and why we're not taking that next step at this time. Does anybody have any questions?
It'll be nice that they're consistent across all the buildings as well for any staff that's working between buildings.
Yeah. And, you know, anybody can lock the door in a security situation. You know, parapros don't have to have a key to the door. They can lock it. If there's a speech person in there, they can lock it. I mean, so it's really gonna make it a lot easier to secure the building in a dangerous situation.
Yeah, Ms. Pryor.
And maybe you said this, when is the anticipated date that this would be completed?
It will absolutely be completed by August 31st. The goal is to have it completed in this budget cycle, so by June 30th. We're just gonna have to see if the stuff gets in on time. The grant money that we're using is good through August 31st, and the selected bidder said that's not going to be an issue. They could probably get it done by June 30th, but I'm not sure I really want them drilling while students are in school. And so having to do evenings and weekends might not get it quite done by June 30th, but August 31st is not an issue. It will be done, and we'll be able to use those grant dollars for that purchase. So I guess the quick answer is it'll be done before the beginning of next school year.
Ms. Gutierrez.
Mr. Gerber, I'm sorry, I forgot to ask you this earlier when we chatted about this, but are these just for classroom doors, or will other doors in the buildings be covered as well?
Right now, what we did is I toured the buildings with the principals, and it's any classroom door, it's any meeting room where students might be. We're not doing it on the gym doors or the theater doors or that type of thing. We're doing it where there are students on a regular basis with staff. So like here at the high school, the hallways at the end of the rooms that are kind of used for small group and stuff, those will have them. The
Okay.
classrooms will have them.
Okay.
So those are the spaces we're targeting. There are a few doors in the buildings that have crash bar systems that are not in this bid, but it's enough. It's a small enough number that it wouldn't hit the bid spec. So actually, when I bring the company out, they have this bid to do the number of doors that are of the type they're doing, and then I'm going to also have them do those few other doors. But that's a separate thing, and that doesn't have to be bid because it's not going to be worth anywhere near $29,000. So, like I can tell you, the choir doors at the middle school are crash bar, so they need just a little bit different mechanism. But I didn't want to confuse the RFP and the bid
Sure.
by including that because it's a small enough amount as it is.
But what I'm hearing you say is this is inclusive of all student learning spaces.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Good question. Any others? All right, it's been moved and supported to approve the purchase and installation of door lock hardware upgrades for an amount not to exceed $43,653 with Tanner Supply Company as detailed in attachment C. Ms. Murray.
Murray, yes. Pryor,
Yes.
Rosenleacher,
Yes.
Sislo,
Yes.
Farrow, Gutierrez.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, next up, I need a motion to approve the purchase and installation of a video surveillance system for an amount not to exceed $560,285.27 with Sentinel Technologies as detailed in attachment D.
Moved by Farrow.
Support by Gutierrez.
So moved and supported to approve the purchase and installation of a video surveillance system for an amount not to exceed $560,285.27 with Sentinel Technologies as detailed in attachment D. Mr. Gearbaugh will explain. We also have Mr. Michael Terrell here from Barton Mallow, who helped with the bidding process. So, Mr. Gearbaugh.
So I will walk you through kind of the selection process, and then you are welcome to ask questions, and I will do my best to answer them. Mr. Terrell will help answer them. I do want to clarify, our technology director, Gina Matley, is not here today because she's actually in Grand Rapids at a conference. And at that conference, she's also taking classes to maintain her tech director certification. She was willing to drive home tonight, but I said, I'm not going to have you drive 6 hours round trip for this. I know it pretty well, and Michael and I have had several conversations. So I think together the two of us can answer those questions. But I did want to clarify why Mrs. Matley is not here. So I just want to take you a little bit through the selection process. I'm going to start with a little bit of why we're doing this, and give you a little bit of history, because this is a large purchase. And I don't take lightly spending $500,000. The first thing I want to say is over $400,000 of this $560,000 will be covered with our safety grant dollars from the last 2 years. We've intentionally not spent those on some other things. We did some small purchases. We've done Stop the Bleed kits. We're doing go bags in all the classrooms. We've got some other things we're doing that will start next year. But we saved the bulk of these funds for these two purchases intentionally, because these were two of the highest things on the priority list from our security consultant that did that audit of our buildings.
And just to interrupt, this is a grant from the state of Michigan specifically for safety.
Yes, this is a grant that can only, well, the first year safety was one grant and mental health was another grant.
Okay.
The second year they blended those two, but the state of Michigan requires that 50% of the grant be spent on safety and 50% be spent on mental health. So the dollars that we are spending on this can only be spent on safety products.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
they can't be spent on anything else, or operating, or salaries, or anything else. So I will openly be transparent. Our safety and security consultant did not say you need to get a new camera system. What they said was, your camera system is out of date, your coverage is not good, several of your cameras aren't working, you don't have the ability to view the cameras other than on a workstation that already has the software installed, which limits where we can view the cameras. And they said those things cause security risk, and so those need to be fixed. Our system is so old, those things can't be fixed. It's at capacity for number of cameras. It's a hard drive based system, so you really can't view it unless you have the viewing software. There's just a lot of things that can't be done. But I do want to be transparent. The security auditor didn't come in and say, you need to get a new camera system. They told us what we needed to do, and that can't be done. Gina Matley and her staff did a lot of work. They toured the buildings with the principals. They asked all kinds of people where they thought additional cameras should be. We put together a list. We worked with a company. And honestly, it came in way above the bid spec. So we knew we were going to have to bid it. That large of a project, you really want to make sure you handle the bidding. It's a little bit different than the $43,000 one we just approved. For those that don't know, we used Barton Mallow technology when we did the bond issue in 2009-10. They were also involved in some of the bond work when we built this building. So they have been our technology consultant over the years. We have a lot of faith in them. They've done a lot of good things for us. So Gina went back to them and said, hey, I need some help because this is a bigger thing than I can handle. Michael and his team have been phenomenal at helping run the process and keeping it very professional and very fair and following all the federal and state guidelines for bidding. And I will also tell you that Barton Mallow also came in and reviewed and helped write all of the specs for the system. So while our principals said, hey, I'd like a camera here and I'd like a camera here, Barton Mallow also came in and said, hey, we have experience and you're going to want one there and you want to make sure that parking lot's covered. And they kind of helped us even better fine tune those specs before we put them out to bid. And I think the bid document, 30, 40 pages, I think, when you put it all together. This is not a small bid document. So we put that out. They ran a pre-bid meeting. They had several folks come to that pre-bid meeting, asked a lot of good questions. We accepted bids, and you can see on the next sheet, we had 6 bids. I will talk through kind of our process of how we began to whittle those 6 down to the company that we are recommending to you tonight. So the first thing is the 2 lowest bids, because a lot of times you want to go to the lowest bid. The 2 lowest bids did not offer a cloud-based product. And not having a cloud-based product means you are tied to a server. And now we need to maintain a server. And the space that's on that server limits how much video you can save. And it limits how you can access those videos. There's just a lot of problems. We felt, and I think Barton Mallow also agreed, you're almost starting with an outdated system at this point in time if you don't really consider a cloud-based product. So we did eliminate those 2 lowest bidders. I'm not saying their products aren't good. Don't take that wrong. It's just not what was right for us. The 2 highest bidders we looked at, their products were really not that much different than the 2 middle bidders. And so why spend that amount of money more? I mean, one of these is substantially higher. And one of them is still a respectable amount higher. So we did remove those 2. So that left us with kind of the 2 middle bidders. We then conducted a pretty in-depth interview and product presentation with them. We had some principals sit in. We had our resource officer sit in. I sat in. 2 of the tech people sat in. Michael sat in and kind of ran it for us. And I'm really glad that we did that because on paper, both products look very similar, but one of them is just ahead in a lot of the technologies that are built into the system. In other words, they both say they have facial recognition, but their facial recognition is not quite up to the same standard. They both say that they have license plate recognition. They're both not quite there. They're just some things that we really felt the higher of the 2 middle bids made more sense. We just were more comfortable with their product. The thing that's important is this system really serves 3 purposes. And I appreciate Mrs. Gutierrez calling me today and asking me some questions because it actually helped me kind of develop what I was going to say tonight. So thank you. It was very helpful. They really do serve 3 purposes. One, they can help with preventing a situation. In other words, if we have a student who has had issues here and we have done something, expelled them and they are not allowed on property, we can actually put their picture into the system and say, please send a text to these people anytime this person is picked up by any camera. We can put in a license plate number and say, please let us know anytime this license plate comes through. Now, it won't be all driveways. I'm just going to be very honest, because these cameras, if you want to cover a whole parking lot, that camera's not going to pick up license plates. You've got to focus that camera a lot tighter down. So we do have a few places, and I'm not going to divulge that will actually have cameras that can read license plates. And again, we can set those up with an alert. So it's not like we find out later that license plate was here. We can set it up and say, when you see this license plate, please text these 5 people on their phone and say it's on our property and what camera picked it up. So there is that ability to possibly prevent a bad situation. The other thing is, because it's cloud-based with the right passwords and the right credentials, we'll be able to view these cameras from our phones, from an off-site computer, from a laptop, from virtually anywhere. Which means if we are in a situation, and if you read the Oxford report, there were some comments about this, during the situation, could they have done, and I am not critiquing Oxford schools in any way, shape, or form. Do not take the next piece in that way. They said if they might have had someone monitoring those cameras that could have said, he's going down the A hallway now, he's in the C hallway now, he's by room B21, they might have been able to prevent some of what happened there. And again, that's a big might, but if right now we have limited numbers of computers that we can log on and see the cameras. That's not going to work if we're not at that computer at the time. So during a situation, this definitely would allow us to maybe provide better information. We all know Alice, right? The first part is alert, right? And the I stands for inform. This camera system will help us do both of those things in a better way. The final thing is, heaven forbid, we do have a major issue. And I will tell you, we use our cameras a lot for other things just than major situations. If there's vandalism, if there's a fight, if there's a student issue, we can use our cameras to kind of see what happened. And this system has some really nice integrated tools that I shared with you that, you can go in and say, if you see a person on camera, you can say, show me all the cameras that person has shown up on in the last 25 minutes. And it brings up all the clips of that person. You can say, show me all the people that were in a red shirt and blue pants in the last 45 minutes on this camera. And it will bring up it can search that way. So it really is going to be helpful before, during, and after situations. I will also tell you, and I explain this, you have to be careful with the prices on this bid, because we also then ask them to quote a 10-year warranty, and the two companies did it a little bit differently. The company that we are recommending, the cameras already come with a 10-year warranty, but there's a cost to license them for 10 years. The company that we aren't recommending came with 10 years of licensing, but you had to pay extra to get the 10-year warranty, and that had to be paid now. So with Michael's help, again, I will say, we had him reach out to the company we're recommending and say, will you lock in the price for the 5 additional years of licensing if we don't want to pay for all of it right now? And they are locking it in till
July 31st.
July 31st of 2025. So if we get more safety dollars next year, or if not, we could spend other funds. We basically have 5 years. The price is locked for a little bit over a year, but we have 5 years to buy that next 5 years of licensing. I like that, and you know how I function. If we can spread this cost over a couple of budgets, that's always better for the school district. The warranty is really, it's a fix it or replace it. If we have a camera not working, they come out, try and fix it. If they can't, they put a new one up. And it's a pretty tight timeline in how quickly that happens. The cameras have vandalism detection on them, so it's very difficult for someone to vandalize them without getting caught. It's really amazing how in the last 15 years, 20 years since we bought our old system, these systems have come. And so hopefully that gives you enough of kind of a summary of how we got there and why we got there and why we're making the recommendation. So our recommendation is for Sentinel Technologies. It's a Verkada product. The subcontractor is Challenger. And when we did our interviews, all of those companies were represented at the interviews, and we were able to ask each of them questions. We are not recommending that you make the purchase of the additional 5 years of licensing right now. So actually, that actually keeps this one at this time cheaper than the next product, because if you wanted the 10-year warranty, you had to pay for that now. So I'm going to stop there and see if you have any questions for Michael or for I.
Do you have anything to add, Michael, just before? Yeah.
I think you did a really good job explaining things. I think when we put together the RFP, we kept in mind the children's safety, and I know we touched on it with the locks, and we again touched on it again. And that was our main focus, is keeping our children safe, as well as having faculty. I think we did.
Oh.
Red light, push it again.
I think it was.
Yep. So we kept in mind the children's safety, and I think Gina was phenomenal to work with throughout this whole entire proposal. She was very patient when we sat through different interviews with some of the companies. So I do appreciate you all and involving the Bar and Mallow team. So thank you.
Mr. Farrell?
I just want to confirm that the additional 5-year licensing would need to be purchased by July 31st, and that would be $130,939.
It has to be bought by that time if we want that price.
Okay.
We can buy it anytime during the 5 years. You can buy licensing a year at a time. You can buy it however you want it. You save if you buy it in bigger packages.
Okay.
So we don't have to buy it by that date, but they'll lock the price in until that date.
And we could use the safe, I just want to confirm that we could use the safety dollars. Or-
I will say this, if safety dollars is in the next year's
but
budget,
correct.
and it doesn't come with a caveat that you can't pre-purchase this type of thing, we would use those safety dollars for it.
Otherwise, we'd have to come out of general fund.
Yep.
Okay.
And we could honestly, we could wait 4 years and buy 1 year and then wait another year and buy another year. You could buy it in the year that you need it. You could buy it in the 6th year, the 7th year, the 8th year. And it may be that we keep the system longer than 10 years. We may buy those 5 more years and then get to year 9 and say, we want to buy 3 more years because the system's still good and the upgrades have been good. And so we're solid for 5 years on the licensing and 10 years on the hardware warranty.
Yeah,
and we can buy that license.
I don't have any issue with the additional expense.
And I just want to add a little bit with the 10-year warranty. So for example, if said camera, they had a later model and it didn't work, they came out and say, oh, this doesn't work. They're going to give you the newer model that's in stock. So you'll have that 10-year warranty to carry throughout. Whether it's an out-of-date camera, they're going to give you the newest and latest version.
I have another question for you. This indicates that Sentinel Technologies also offers a full suite of additional products. I know that we're not going to do some of those products at this time, but if we choose to do those additional products in the future, it indicates that the integration of those capabilities would not be at an additional cost.
There would be a hardware cost,
Okay.
and there would be potentially a licensing cost for that piece of hardware,
Okay.
but their software can integrate that all.
Okay.
The other company didn't even have the possibility to integrate some of those things into it. And I guess, let me give a couple examples. Right now, we have a card key or fob reading system to get into the buildings. We could purchase hardware through Verkada to replace all of that hardware, which is getting older, and then it could all then interact with the same security system.
Okay.
We could put vape detectors in bathrooms, and it would be connected into the same system.
Okay.
We could put, I'm trying to think of what some of the other things.
So you have intercoms. They have intercoms for access to the building that you can integrate into the system as well. So for the door access control, say if there was a purchase of interest on site and you guys wanted to lock down a certain area, you can lock down and see them on the camera and be able to lock down that area. So yeah.
I think you spoke about driver's license entry.
Yeah.
Yes,
like,
driver's license entry. So basically, you can set up like an iPad or some type of device for parents that comes in. They'll scan their ID one time, they'll lock them in the system for like 30 days. But it's real time. It'll read it, and then on the desk, you know how they print out the little guest pass? It'll automatically print out the guest pass. So that's a part of that as well.
So a lot of other features we can add. Again, the other one, the software, you could kind of link things to it, but you would have to go out and buy your own door access and then connect it to their system. Where this one, it is a part of their system if you purchase their hardware. Does that answer
Yeah,
the question?
thank you very much. I appreciate the info.
Thank you.
Other questions? Michael, do you know, has the Sentinel Technologies, have they installed it at other school districts?
Yes, your neighbor in school district, Celine, we just had a project this past summer with them, and they've been phenomenal.
Okay.
Yes.
And I will add, I was just at a superintendent and chiefs meeting, and the two resource officers from Saline Schools happened to sit at my table, and it was perfect. I said, hey, how do you like your new camera system? And we talked through why they liked it. They love it. And these are the two security officers that are going to use it regularly. So what I like is this is an unsolicited reference, right? It wasn't somebody that Sentinel or Verkada gave us. It's two resource officers, that one that works in the elementary buildings, and then one that does middle school and high school. And I asked them a lot of questions about how they like it. How easy is it to find things? How easy is it to do searches? How easy is it to put in things to alert you for? And they were very, very positive about the product. And I think they've had it about 6 to 7 months it's been installed.
Yes, roughly about
I
6 to
think-
7 months installed, yes.
So yeah, and I've used some of the systems up there myself when I've gone to meetings in their buildings. So again, we don't have all of those pieces yet, but it is a possibility down the road.
Do we know how long this task is going to take? This project is going to.
Yeah, so we have an estimated start date of June the 10th, right when students get out of school, and then the completion date around August 19th. Yeah,
So it should be in place for next school year.
yes.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Sislo?
Yes, Ms. Gutierrez.
Mr. Gerber, I have another question that I should have asked you earlier, but it's coming to my mind. What if we find that as there's building construction perhaps in the future, our space changes, if we want to add new cameras, is that a possibility?
Absolutely. And that's part of the reason you go with a cloud-based product. And thank you, because that reminded me of something. The nice thing with a cloud-based product, we don't have a set amount of storage space. We have a guarantee of 30 days of video on every camera. So if that's 200 terabytes, that's how much space we have. If that's 300 terabytes, that's how much space we have. So the pricing doesn't say you have, and that's part of the problem with going with a non-cloud based is you're going to buy a hard drive that's a certain size, and that hard drive's only going to hold what it holds. When we go cloud based, the bid product came with 30 days of video for every camera. So yes, we can absolutely add more cameras, just like we can add other products.
And a follow-up, how does that, what is the process to do that? Do we pay for each camera? Do we have to repurpose and move one camera to another?
No, you could buy an additional camera and you would pay for the licensing for that camera. So every device has to have licensing to be cloud-based and to do all of those things you want it to do. And honestly, it's just the way the world's going. Mr. McMahon can tell you it's the same way with curriculum. Almost everything we do now has annual licensing costs.
Right,
That's
of course.
just the way the world works. But yeah, so we'd have to buy the additional camera and then buy the license, which is not going to be 130,000. Obviously, that's for hundreds and hundreds of cameras.
But
then,
it's nice that we can do that
Yes.
as our school flexes and
Yep.
yeah. Okay.
and that right now we can't. We have no more room. So the nice thing is if the resource officer came to us and said, man, we really should have a camera right here, great, let's call the company and find out what it costs to put it in. We can do that once we get this system in.
And then this is going to take care of all buildings,
Yes.
and then spaces outside of those buildings as possible.
This is all four schools, the athletic
and
facilities, the bus garage. It's really all of our properties. Yes.
And then, Mr.
Yeah,
Gerba.
Ms. Murray.
This question came to mind based on what I do on a fairly regular basis for my daily job. So since it is a cloud-based system, I assume that we feel comfortable in terms of where that cloud data is stored, US servers, and I understand it's not going to be storing any student PII, personally identifiable information, other than their faces, but we feel good about the data security compliance for these cloud-based services.
That was part of the questioning and some of the things that happened during that bid process.
Other questions or concerns? All right. It's been moved and supported to approve the purchase and installation of a video surveillance system for an amount not to exceed $560,285.27 with Sentinel Technologies as detailed in attachment D. Ms. Murray.
Murray, yes. Pryor?
Yes.
Rosenleacher?
Yes.
Sislo?
Yes.
Farrow?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Terrell.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Terrell, and thank you, board. I appreciate your support.
All right. Next up on the agenda is communications and community engagement. That brings us back to public comments. Are there any students who'd like to address the board? Are there any public members who'd like to address the board? All right. Our student board representatives are absent. That will take us to assistant superintendent comments. Mr. McMahon.
Mr. Sislo, thank you. Just two quick comments today. Just want to share with you kind of a grant update, but we're not actually working on a grant. Well, we're working on a number of grant applications. I have no updates on that part, but we did receive essentially an audit document from MDE that was passed on by the federal government, and it's accounting for all of our COVID dollars differently than we had in the past. to summarize, Brian got the email forwarded to us with the terms "Holy cow!" ... This spreadsheet is like 100, 300.
It's 180 columns.
I thought it was more like
Of data?
280 columns. And it's extensive process, and we had 3 weeks to do it. But we've been working hard on it, Chris and I, and hope we should be able to get it done by Friday, ahead of the deadline. So that's good. But it was considerable work, and Krista has done a lot for it. So I just want to just let you know that we're doing that. We're trying to do the accounting piece.
And just to clarify, the state of Michigan didn't even know that
Right.
was coming. Like, the state of Michigan received it from the federal government, and they got it out to us very quickly and said, if we don't have it by this time, we can't check everything in the state to turn it over to the feds.
Yeah.
So it was a,
It's more detailed than we expected. It's, where did you spend your dollars, what buildings, on what students, out of how many students, and the demographics of those students. So we had to really dial into some of the data. Fortunately, we have really good people working for us that keep really good records, so we just have to dig it up. And the other comment is I want to congratulate a couple students out of Mr. Davies' class, our technology instructor, Braylon Campbell and Riley Ireland. They placed in the top 10 of the SAE, the Society of Automotive Engineers. They had a poster contest, and they placed in the top 10. So they got a $100 cash prize, each of them. And I have to read this, I will never remember it. Their posters are going to be displayed at the General Motors Hydrotech Fuel Cell event during the WCXTM World Congress Experience on Wednesday, April 17th at the Huntington Place in Detroit, and at the Microelectric Vehicle Competition on May 8th at Yazaki in Canton. So kind of a cool honor. It's a big deal. Mr. Davies, thank him for all the work he helped get them entered in the contest, and then also physically drove the posters up to Farmington Hills during the eclipse, I'll add. And so we appreciate him putting the extra effort, but certainly for the kids. So we're gonna have a poster created too. It just isn't yet. So that's it for me.
Cool, thank you. That brings us to superintendent comments, Mr. Gearbo.
thank you. A few things to share this evening. First, congratulations to the Milan Middle School cast and crew of The Little Mermaid Junior. I was not able to attend due to a family matter this weekend, but I heard from numerous people that the production was amazing. A lot of people communicated. I took my grandkids to it. They loved it. I mean, just people of all ages truly enjoyed it. A huge thank you to all of the staff, parents, and other volunteers who helped make that production such a huge success. On Friday, April 12th, Simons held a Flapjacks with Families event before school. The Simons PTO coordinated the event and provided all the food and beverages. Numerous staff members. We had all kinds of teachers there early to help serve and help take care of the students. And the Milan Rotary Club cooked the pancakes. Mr. McMahon was the mixer, and I was one of the flippers. So it was a fun event, and even though it was raining a little bit outside, we were able to serve probably, I guess, about 250 to 300 people pancakes. I did want to let you know that Milan area schools achieved a 98% completion rate on immunization records. This is not a minor task when you look at all of the records we are responsible for verifying. I do want to make it clear that the completion rate includes those students that are immunized and those that have gone through the official process with the county to not be immunized. So the 2% are those people that we couldn't verify one of those two things with by the deadline. The state requirement is 95%. There are a lot of districts that can't achieve that. We have consistently, for the time I've been the superintendent, ranged from 98 to 100%. But you have to remember, it's every kindergartner, it used to be sixth grader, it might be seventh grader now, and then any new student to the district. So there are a lot of, especially at the two buildings that have those grades where you have to verify everybody, it's a lot of work. And we greatly appreciate our administrative assistants who were helping with that. I do just want to congratulate all of our spring athletes and our coaches. If you follow the Big Reds athletic page, just all of our teams are doing really well. Individual students are doing great. It's just really nice to see our students excel both academically and athletically, in plays, in concerts. It's just really nice to see our students so well-rounded. Today is Administrative Assistance Day. I want to personally thank Ann for everything that she does for me, and I know the board feels the same way for what she does for you. And I also want to thank all of our administrative assistants in the district. They truly are the backbone of our offices and are that first face that our community sees and our students see. And They do everything from take temperatures to help make tears go away to, you can't even list. If I had to put a job description together, I don't know if I could do it in justice. So thank you to all of those folks. As we move into the 24-25 school year, there are new Michigan school laws that will require those people that conduct teacher or administrator evaluations to receive additional training called rater reliability training. You are all, I'm sure, excited to know that that includes school boards because you evaluate me. So luckily, we use the MASB Superintendent Evaluation Tool, and MASB will be offering that training. President Sislo and I will work together to schedule that necessary training and figure out what the best time to do that is.
I'll add on to that real quick. Because I did get a message from Board President McVeigh from Celine, we're trying to see if we can do something WISD wide as well. So I will send you we're looking at everybody's the best availability Monday through Friday from May through June. So that's what we're trying to do. So I'll send that out.
Great.
Yep.
That's a good idea. I think we have several districts in the county that use the MASB tool, so it makes sense to have them come down and do that together. Navigating mental health services for a child or family member, including scheduling appointments and navigating insurance and all of the ways to pay, can definitely be overwhelming. In order to support our students and families and staff, Milan Area Schools has partnered with Care Solace, a confidential service focused on removing barriers to accessing mental health care. This collaboration provides school district families and staff with access to Care Solace care coordination services at no cost to families. Care Solace streamlines the communication and coordination to connect individuals with the right resources and appropriate level of care. They have a team of over 500 dedicated care companions. Care Solace has the ability to connect Milan Area Schools to over 420,000 licensed medical, health, and substance use treatment providers. These care companions navigate the fragmented mental health care system on behalf of individuals, helping them find the perfect fit for their unique needs and insurance requirements. Our families can connect with Care Solace via staff referral or may request assistance directly from Care Solace. Once a referral begins, Care Solace will work with the student, family, or staff member to help identify a local mental health provider that meets their needs, including their insurance needs or Medicaid or Medicare or whatever their situation might be. So they will schedule an appointment with the provider and help navigate all of those costs and how to cover those costs. I do want to make it clear, this doesn't cover the cost of the mental health service. It helps connect families to that service. But in helping connect them to it, families can say, we have this type of insurance and we only want a provider that accepts our insurance, or we don't have insurance. Can you help us find a provider that works with families that don't have insurance? They do all of that. But I want to be clear, the district and the product we're buying doesn't cover the cost of the care. For those that are interested, I did send an email out. I think it went out today. If it didn't go out today, it's scheduled to go out tomorrow. It did go out today? Okay, I couldn't remember if I clicked send now or delay. So an email did go out. It had several attachments in both English and Spanish, and it has a link where families can go. And there really are three ways for families to get connected. One is they can just call their school social worker or counselor. Two, they can go to that website and kind of refer themselves. Or three, they can actually, if they don't want any of that, they can go out and do like a self-search for providers and put in their own information. I want to be very clear that the only information the district gets back is that an appointment was made and whether that appointment was successful and did the family get the service they needed. We don't have access to any of the counseling records, any of the mental health records. This company has been vetted by numerous school lawyers across the state of Michigan. It is a very separate, we do have a dashboard that tells us how many have been served. It doesn't tell us anything else about them. They do what they call a warm handoff, and then they verify that that handoff went well, and then they back out of the situation. So they don't even keep information on the counseling and the supports that that student or family member or staff member got. So again, you're going to start to see more advertising on that. This is a product that we were able to buy with those mental health dollars that we got. I can tell you we are about 2 weeks into it being used, and I think we already have 11 families that have been referred to counselors. 2 of them have already had appointments. So it's working. And we're very happy to be able to offer that service. On Friday, April 12th, I attended a meeting that included all of the local police departments and Washtenaw County Sheriff. Milan Police Department had 2 of their officers present. We were given a detailed presentation regarding the Oxford incident. It was actually led by the Oxford School Resource Officer that arrested the shooter on the scene. So he went through, and everything he shared, he's allowed to share. It's not anything private. But it was really interesting to kind of see how that incident, you heard a lot in the news and you heard a lot of things, but when you can see on a map of the school how it happened, and honestly, all of the shootings, both the injured and those that were killed, happened within like the first 27 seconds of the incident. So, you hear a lot of things about it. It really didn't last that long. It was 3 to 5 minutes before he was arrested, but all of the shooting happened within less than a minute. What was nice is he went through it, and then we had all of our police officers there and our superintendents there, and we were able to debrief and talk about what lessons can we learn from this, how can we get better, what can we do to avoid this, what can we do to help if it is happening, be better, and some of the things you approved tonight fall into that category. The District Communication Committee met on Monday, April 15th to continue their work on a master communication plan document. We hope to wrap that document up possibly this year or over the summer and have it in place for next school year. We do currently have school aid budgets from the governor and the Senate. I think the governor's plan, I might get these backwards, I apologize. One of the plans, I won't say which, one of the plans, the increase to the pupil foundation is $241, and the other one is, I think, $307. The House does not yet have their budget out, but we expect to see that in the next couple of days. If you remember, they were deadlocked for a long time, and the 2 special elections have happened, so they now have those two representatives back. So we hope to see a budget from them soon, as we're trying to prepare a preliminary budget and have no idea what the funding we're going to receive next year is at this point. It will also be important this year as we look at those budgets, not to only look at the foundation allowance, but what other supplemental grants are offered. Is the safety there? Is the mental health there? Are they going to change the retirement rates that we have to pay, up or down? It is possible they could go down for districts. That helps the budget. It's not one of those years where you can just look at 1 or 2 line items and say, hey, this budget is better for us than this budget, because there's just going to be so many pieces and parts in the different budgets, and we'll have to see where they land. We hope to get that information by the time we have to have our budget put together. The county superintendents have been talking about what are we putting into our budgets as estimates, because we have to build a preliminary budget with something. And we try to, in the county, stay consistent with what we all put in as the revenue, so that we're all kind of building our budgets in that same way. That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gearbaugh. Any questions for Mr. Gearbaugh? All right, on to board member comments. We put a placeholder here for board self-assessment. So again, we have all completed it, and I received word back that they've compiled the results. So I'm still communicating with them to figure out how best to go forward with scheduling a retreat if we want to do that, as in addition to the DEI programs that they put on. So hopefully by the next meeting I can have some more concrete details in regards to that. But I appreciate everybody completing that self-assessment. And then I did just, I'll be sending out a survey looking for available dates that work best for us to help accomplish that the training for the superintendent evaluation. So Other board member comments?
Mr. Sislo?
Yes, Ms. Rosenleacher.
Just a reminder, we need to reschedule the Big Red Board Chat that was scheduled for May 28th. I don't know if anybody's looked at a calendar or come up with a date, but we should probably get that rescheduled sooner than later.
Yeah, I can do that as part of that communication for sure. We should definitely need to get that rescheduled. Thank you. Others?
Mr. Sislo.
Yeah, Mr. Farrell.
I apologize for missing the last board meeting. I do have a few things I want to share tonight. As I think I've shared with all of you, the district transparency information is on our website. If you have any questions on any of that information, feel free to reach out to me. I will connect with Mr. Gearbaugh and Krista on the district credit cards. I just need to know why there are so many individuals that have district credit cards and how the dollar amounts are determined. I have no concerns. I just want to better understand. As Mr. Gearbaugh relayed, June 5th is the Milan area school budget hearing. In speaking with Krista, I assume that we will anticipate an additional $200 per pupil as part of that budget. Mr. Gearbaugh is correct on the dollar amounts that are being proposed by two chambers. Obviously a bit different, so it probably serves us well to budget conservatively with regard to the per pupil foundation amount. The meeting will be brief on June 5th, again, is to consider the FY 24-25 budget. It will include the proposed property tax mill rate. Also, I just want to share with everyone that May 6th through the 10th is Staff Appreciation Week. We have an amazing staff here in Milan area schools across every level in our district. We just have amazing people that work for our district, and I hope that all of you can find some time to find a meaningful way to thank the staff for all that they do. I also want to thank our amazing paraprofessionals in the district for all that they do. I missed the last meeting and I did not get an opportunity to tell you that I appreciate you as well. Mr. Gearbaugh did a very good job reviewing the school safety funds. Obviously, we do not want to see we don't want to see school safety funds not utilized. So our hope is that we're going to utilize all of them either this year or next year. There will be some technology expenses, I believe, in this year or next year's budget for laptops and Chromebooks. Again, I believe that those are standard purchases and included as part of our budgets. I also just want to, I have a personal thank you to the board members and the community for supporting the recent girls soccer fundraiser. Your support to our students in that particular program and all of our other programs is very much appreciated. And then finally, I just want to thank Connie Cox for the adult education graduation invite on Tuesday, May 28th. That's the reason that our Big Red Board Chat is being moved, and I plan to attend, and I just want to thank Connie for the invite. That's all for me.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. Others? Yes, Ms. Pryor.
I just also wanted to bring up the Staff and Teacher Appreciation Week. Some of the schools have put together things that they're asking for contributions to put on events. So if you are willing, if you're able, or even have some time, look on the websites and the different things the schools have for opportunities to support them. I wanted to say congratulations to the middle school play. We saw it on the first night and it was so good. Very excited to see them out there performing, but even more excited to see the high schoolers. We had sat by them initially in the audience who were very enthusiastic about supporting the middle schoolers that they had helped. So much so we ended up just moving a little bit for the second half because they were screaming and having a good time. So it was just really nice to see them very supportive. And also wanted to congratulate the spring sports teams. They're doing very well. They're committed. It's cold out there, attending practices, going to the games, and the parents that stand through that as well. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Ms. Pryor. Others? Ms. Gutierrez.
It's so nice to hear that feedback, Mrs. Pryor. As a mom of a King Triton, as I shared last week, you know, and I really was reflecting on this today as I was talking to a new family that's coming into our district. Um, how special I think this district is that we have two shared campuses, right? So Paddock and the middle school are adjacent to each other, and then Simons and the high school are adjacent to each other. And I think it enables a lot of cross grade or cross level mentoring amongst our students. And as a mom of a kiddo who is in the middle school play, this was so obvious to me to see this exceptional relationship that the high schoolers had developed with these upcoming middle school actors, and what they learned, how safe and supported they made them feel, and then how supportive they were of their performance. I think I say this often that Milan is really a special place, but I think that we have some both structural things that really enable that, but also just the people here. And so that's really great. And then along those same lines, I know many of us, Mr. Gearbaugh included, were at the Milan High School Special Olympics buddy swim meet on Monday night. And what a joyous place to be. I mean, I brought my Girl Scout troop, and they didn't know any of the swimmers other than one of the girls that was on the Milan team, and they were cheering and screaming and clapping for everybody. There were signs all over the place. It was just such a lovely event, and I'm so proud that that was hosted here at Milan High School, and I really appreciate Nancy Gill and the others who organized that event. Many of the other things on my list have already been said, so in the effort to not belabor the point, the only other thing I wanted to add was to remind families that are coming into new buildings, particularly Simons and the middle school, that those two buildings will be hosting welcome nights. In fact, Simons is calling theirs a housewarming party, which I love. That'll be Thursday, May 2nd at Simons from 4 to 5. So if you have an incoming second, third, or fourth grader, that's for you. And then Thursday, May 9th at 6 p.m. at the middle school. So if you have an incoming fifth or sixth grader who will be new to the building, that would be a great opportunity. So so delighted that we are having those in light of the Reimagining Milan to make that transition safe and comfortable. And I appreciate our staff for putting those on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gutierrez. Ms. Murray.
Oh, yeah. All right, good evening, everyone. I will also start with sharing a little bit about the middle school musical. Dressed appropriately this evening. And I want to start by just acknowledging that I have a great deal of bias as it pertains to the director of said middle school musical. She is my better half for sure. But I also uniquely understand what that position demands of the person who holds it, because I used to do it. And this year I served as a volunteer. She insisted that I be listed as an assistant director, but I just offered tweaks and expertise here and there, and I ran the soundboard, and and I made seagull shirts. Okay, but if I never see more feathers, it'll be too soon. They're still floating around our house, but I digress. The number of hours that she has poured into this production, they started casting in December. So this has been a part of our life, her life, for many months. Endless hours of rehearsals, and just the level of organization that she brought to this year's performance. Like, I consider myself an organized person, but just blew me away. And what that yielded for the program was such a high level of community support and involvement, the likes of which I don't think the middle school drama program has yet seen until now. So it needs to be recognized that that program has grown and flourished and is headed in a beautiful direction, thanks to her guidance. So have to say that. I also want to take a moment to recognize another extremely talented staff member here at our schools. He serves both Simons and Paddock, and was our musical director, Mr. Christopher C.J. Brooks. We are so fortunate to have him working for our district. he probably doesn't get to show off as much of his musical prowess in, you know, the elementary levels. But he is an incredibly talented pianist and conductor. And we had some issues with the provided music. And so Mr. Brooks, given his many talents and musical, you know, knowledge, was able to put our provided tracks that we purchased into some software and essentially rewrite the music to give our actors what they needed in terms of their performance and the time they needed to complete their scene transitions and a few other tweaks that needed to be made. And it just, his professionalism and his knowledge is so greatly appreciated, and he's wonderful with the students as well in terms of vocal coaching and theater coaching too. He kind of is the full package for that. So I am really grateful to have had his support in that as well. And then I wanted to quickly shout out, Ms. Gutierrez did a beautiful job of naming the mentoring that has happened between our buildings and that vertical partnership between our middle school theater program and our high school. Thanks again to Mr. Dan Douglas, who is our theater manager. He's incredible and is really committed to furthering that vertical partnership, but because of him and his commitment to doing that, we enjoyed the support of many high school students mentoring our middle schoolers. So I'd like to name them briefly if that's okay. I'd like to say thanks to Iz Boone Slaughter, Megan Halfin, Cheyenne Freilich, Ava Pastelka, Lake Foster, Trent Gruber, and Eric Siebertson, and hopefully I haven't forgotten anyone, but that collection of students mentored our middle schoolers in the sound booth, on spotlights, backstage doing stage managing, taking the recordings of the show itself. And then Megan and Cheyenne specifically worked with our students on choreography and character and staging, and they played theater games with them when Miss Murray was, you know, busy doing something else. They really just stepped up in a number of incredibly valuable ways. So I'm super proud of all of them and very grateful. So the last thing, I'm not going to go into it, but I invited the students in the production and our our families that had students participating to complete a Google form and just kind of share some of their experience and what they got out of the show. So I will share the digital link to that with the board so you guys can see. Not surprisingly, students spoke about or wrote about making new connections, feeling accepted. One student said they learned how to be a mermaid and they'll be pursuing that career, which was quite funny. But yeah, just I learned that I was a really great actor. I met great people I probably never would have talked to. I stepped out of my comfort zone. So just truly the value add of having these types of arts programs in our district is well worth it. And I just want to say thank you again to Mr. Brooks and Miss Murray for moving this mission forward. I couldn't be more proud. Yeah, with that, I'll pass. Thank you.
Mr. Sislo.
Yeah, Mr. Farrell.
I just want to add, Ms. Murray, that my daughter was impacted by COVID at that time and was invited to the play to be part of, I don't even know how to explain it, but she was super excited to be there, and I just thought it was awesome that you and Jules took the time to invite the kids that would have participated in the musical during the COVID time period to come back and be part of it, the event this year. So thank you.
Yeah, if I could clarify that just a little bit. Yes, and thank you for mentioning that. We did invite the students who were part of the original 2020 cast of Little Mermaid that experienced the cancellation to come and take a bow at our Sunday performance. And so many of the students that I named that were high school mentors were a part of that original production. And yeah, it was a very special moment, and hopefully gave those students just a small modicum of closure for that show. But it really has been beautiful to see them back in new ways supporting that show. So thank you, Mr. Farrell.
Cool. Any others? Yeah, there's nothing more to say. I mean, I think you guys have said it all. So yeah, that's spectacular. Great work by all. Next order of business is I need a motion to enter into closed session pursuant to section 881H of the Michigan Open Meetings Act for the purpose of attorney-client privilege communication.
Moved by Pharaoh.
Support by Pryor.
So moved and supported to enter into closed session pursuant to section 81H of the Michigan Open Meetings Act for the purpose of attorney-client privilege communication. There'll be no other business when we return to open session, just so everybody is aware. We would thank you for attending and drive home safely. It's been moved and supported to enter into closed session pursuant to section 81H of the Michigan Open Meetings Act for the purpose of attorney-client privilege communication. Ms. Murray?
Pryor,
Yes.
Rosenleacher,
Yes.
Sislo,
Yes.
Farrell,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Murray, yes, and motion carried 6-0.
All right, we're going into closed session at 8:15 p.m.
Thank you so much.
All right, we have returned to open session at 9:20 p.m. and the meeting is adjourned at 9:20 p.m. Have a good evening.